When did you realize you needed to quit your addiction? When I almost called someone who trusted me with their life. I'm a heart surgeon, and in the early stages of my addict, I promised myself I'd never operate high. I told myself I was in control, and I could stop at any time. As you can guess, it didn't take long for me to show up to a projected 17-hour surgery. Absolutely smacked. I operated while intoxicated before this. I was used to that, but this was a whole different level of smack. I was on, like, 4 different substances. I still don't know what made me think this was okay. I think I was just so broken in every other area of my life that at the time, and I know this sounds horrible, I didn't even care if I accidentally called the 58-year-old father of 3, whose children trusted me with his life. His family was in the waiting room praying, and I felt absolutely nothing looking at them. The surgery started around 7 o'clock am, and by 9:30, I was already jonesing for another hit. I excused myself for a bathroom break and shot up in the stall. My hand stopped shaking, and I went back in. Sarah, my head nurse, who'd worked with me for 10 years, kept giving me these looks. During the pre-op briefing, she'd asked if I was okay and mentioned I seemed off. I saw her exchange glances with the anesthesiologist, and my paranoia went through the roof. By PM, I'd taken 3 more bathroom breaks to top off. Each time I came back, Sarah documented something in her notes. I dropped an instrument and blamed it on new gloves, but I could tell nobody was buying it. She suggested calling Dr. Chen to take over, and I snapped at her, accusing her of undermining my authority. The whole O went silent after that. Around 3 p.m., I realized I was running low on supplies. I only brought enough for what I thought would get me through, but I've been using more than usual because of the stress. I started rushing through the procedure, trying to turn a 17-hour operation into 10. I skipped double-checking suture lines, and my hands were visibly shaking while working on this man's heart. The anesthesiologist asked why I was rushing, and I barked at him to mind his own job. I made an incision to deep and had to compensate while Sarah quietly documented everything. The whole team was on edge, and I'd created this hostile environment where everyone was afraid to speak up, even though they knew something was seriously wrong. By 5 o'clock p.m., I was in full withdrawal mode. 10 hours in, and I'd burned through everything I had on me. My hands were trembling so bad I could barely hold the instruments. I was sweating through my scrubs, and my vision was getting blurry. All I could think about was getting home to my stash. This man's chest was cracked open in front of me, and all I cared about was getting high. I started closing him up as fast as possible, just trying to get out of there. That's when everything went to hell. The patient started hemorrhaging badly during the chest closure. His blood pressure crashed, and alarms started screaming. The O erupted into controlled chaos as everyone scrambled to save him, while I just stood there frozen for a second. I managed to find the bleeder, but the damage was already done. He needed a massive transfusion, and instead of staying to help stabilize him, I mumbled something about getting supplies and bolted. I ran to my locker, desperately searching for anything I'd missed. I found a tiny baggie with some snow residue at the bottom and scraped it together with a credit card. I locked myself in the bathroom, trying to get every last particle up my nose when I heard it. Code blue, or 3. Code blue, or 3. That was my patient. I sat there on the bathroom floor with white powder still on my nose while Dr. Chen and my team fought to save the life I just destroyed. I stayed hidden in that bathroom for another hour, too ashamed and to hide to face what I'd done. When I finally emerged, Chen had stabilized him, but the patient would have permanent complications from my negligence. I fled the hospital and went on a 3-day bender, ignoring 47 calls from the administration. When I showed up Monday morning, I was immediately called into the chief of surgery's office. Sarah had filed a formal complaint with detailed documentation. They ordered a DRG test, which I passed using synthetic urine. I always carried, but the damage was done. The patient's family filed a lawsuit that the hospital quietly settled, and I eventually lost my license after a full investigation. I checked into rehab the night I lost my license. I've been sober for 5 years now, but I still can't forgive myself for those 300 surgeries I performed.